just pressure washing a little playhouse for ZZ, and there was dirt flying everywhere, and I was filming it for a future short, so stay tuned. But I'm out here in the barn. ZZ is taking a nap, and I just wanted to come on and say hello, and I'm going to get Comet out. And I thought I would continue. Last time, there was a discussion about how I got into horses and my whole journey of that. So that's obviously a story that is very, very long and is probably going to take a lot of lives to tell. But I thought I would start it because I am 36 and I have been involved with horses since I was 5. So it's basically been 3 decades of horses. But I was the first generation horse person in my family. Nobody was interested in horses. No one knew anything about them. But from the time that I was just a toddler, I mean, honestly, 2, 3 years old, my mom and my grandparents, here I'm getting Comet, they would take me out in the valley and let me look at the horses and then pet them through the fence. And I just naturally gravitated towards them at a very young age. Hello, Comet. By the time I was 5, I was really wanting to ride. So we went to a local riding barn, and I started taking lessons on a little pony named Brownie. And he was, I believe, 12 hands. And he was old. He was probably about 20. And I did a few lessons with him, and it went really well. And I was just on a lunge line. You could leave Brooklyn alone. Here, I'm going to tie you right here. He's always so curious. There. So I was riding Brownie, and then I had had about maybe 5 lessons. And then my teacher said that I had enough skill to walk around the whole arena by myself. So that was a big deal, especially for a 5-year-old. So I was so excited. And I got about 3/4 of the way around the arena, and then that little pony took off on me and started full-blown galloping, not bucking, but just galloping back to the barn. Of course, everybody starts to freak out. I'm hanging on for dear life, and my grandpa was filming everything, which I should dig out this footage and put it on YouTube. But I guess he supposedly dropped the camera and started running after me, and it was a big ordeal. But thankfully, I did not fall off, and then the instructor caught him. And after that, I was pretty shaken up, and I didn't really want to ride anymore. And so my family thought, oh, well, that's it. She's not going to be into it anymore. Well, they were kind of almost relieved in a way. But it was about a week, and then I asked to ride again. So then that's when they're like, oh, no, it might be something. It might be something real. It might be something that she's really interested in, and it's not going to just be something that passes. So I did ride again. But what happened, poor Brownie, he actually was colicking, and they didn't know. At least that's what she said. And later that night he did colic, but he lived. They caught it, thankfully. But he was old, and I think he was just having an off day and didn't want to work for obvious reasons. So that's what happened. But then I started riding a couple of other ponies. And by this time I was, I think, 6. And I really just went back and forth to local barns. We didn't have a lot in our community here at all. My first teacher, Leanna, was amazing for the area locally. And she even gave me lessons again, fast forward to when I was 12 and 13. At a local boarding barn. But I did not own my own horse until I was 13 years old. And we had to pay my instructor to go and get her about 3 hours away from here. And I saved up $500, and then my mom gave me $500. So I had a $1,000 budget for a riding horse. And I found her online, and you know, we got her. She was a beautiful bald face pinto with blue eyes, and I decided to name her Mocha. But when we got her, she was extremely malnourished, very underweight, and she had been abused. So she was not an ideal first horse. She was actually really quite opposite of that. Not a good horse for a 13-year-old novice. But she taught me a lot. But the very first night that I owned her, we brought her back to the boarding field that we had prearranged. And we no more than got her out of the trailer, and she started running, and she ran into some blackberry bushes, and I guess that had hidden barbed wire in it. And she cut herself open, quite extreme. What do you see? Always pay attention when my horses are looking at things. So she cut her chest open, cut her legs open. It was horrible. Looking back, she probably did need some stitches, but it was right on that line. So my instructor, we got her back in the trailer and then took her to another farm that night, actually where my instructor lived. She was a caretaker across the road from a ranch that's actually just a few parcels down from me now. And so for 6 weeks, I doctored Mocha for 3 times a day, and healed her wounds, and also put weight on her before I could even begin to work with her, ride her, think about doing anything fun, right? So I kind of got a crash course in horse first aid and the responsibility of owning a horse, and that things can happen really quick when you own them. They're not small commitments. Even these little ones are not small commitments. They can get hurt and colic and founder and everything, just the same as a big one. Yeah. So finally, after she was healed enough, I started to work with her. Now, this was before I became familiar with Clinton Anderson, so I'm sure a lot of people know who he is. I hadn't watched any of his videos yet. I didn't know who he was, but I had the local support. And my teacher, Leanna, was wonderful for that time, and she really did the best she could with Mocha, with her skill, and we did the best we could. She never bucked me off. I got to ride her. She was very high-strung and very scared. She was scared of the bridle. Someone had clearly beaten her in the face, because every time you would even just approach her and try to get the bridle or anything next to her face, she would pull back. She flipped over 3 or 4 times. It was horrible. It was a lot. It was too much. But I am very grateful for the experience of her, because, again, it taught me that horses are true commitments, and they have souls, and you can't treat an animal that way. So unfortunately, the story gets sadder. I rode Mocha for 6 weeks, and the last time I went up to her and put her bridle on, she actually held still and trusted me. And the next day, she colicked. And we tried to save her, but couldn't. And my mom, she was a single mom. We didn't have a lot of money to say go and try to do surgery. We flushed her. We did everything we could. We had the vet out 3 times. They were even optimistic. Oh, we think that we can do this. She did poop. We kind of had good signs for a few hours, but she ultimately didn't make it, and she passed away that night. So that was horrible. It was very sad. And I still think about that poor horse, and I just wish that I could have had the skills I have now and then been able to work with her. I just think that those 6 weeks would have been just that much different for her. Not that we did anything wrong, but I just feel like I would have made it even easier to get her into a training routine. But being just a child and doing the best I could, that's where I was at. So after that, the story gets, just even more and more. Like I say, I'm gonna have to do mini lives and mini parts. So if people wanna hear this, then comment that you do, because I could do a series of my life story. And there's a lot to it. I did not get to where I am today by just being born into it. I did not come from a lot of money. I did not come from anything aside from just a regular single mom and regular grandparents and regular homes, and that was it. And I mean, it's a wonderful life, but they were not an equestrian family, not at all. So, gosh, and it's been 11 minutes, so I can keep talking. After I lost her, I actually got 2 horses. The lady that I was boarding her right up the road. And that lady was very dear and older, and she gave me a deal on 2 horses, like really like a steal of a deal on 2 of the horses that she bred, both quarter horses, a baby, just a little like weanling, that was actually an orphan foal, and I named her Glory. And then there was another Palomino gelding, he was 3. And I did not own him very long because, again, he was too much horse for me. We put him in training for a couple months, and it just was too much horse. So we did actually sell him, I'd say about 6 months into owning him, which it worked out okay because he was just too much. So I didn't really have a riding horse. I just had little baby Glory. So she was great. She was a little sorrel with a blaze face, and I started training her with all the groundwork, the showmanship, and I wanted to show her locally. So I did. I actually showed her 2 days after Mocha had died. Like, that's how fast it happened. The lady let me go and show her at a little local show in Halter. And I thought I had won. They actually announced that I had won 3rd place, and then they made a mistake. And they're like, oh, no, sorry, we made a mistake. It actually goes to somebody else. So that was my first horse show. And I also wore my hat backwards all morning. So that was fun too. Nobody seemed to say anything or notice, I don't know. But that was my very first horse show. I didn't even know. What was nice is at least I didn't even know until it was all over, and then someone finally said, oh, your hat's on backwards. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just went out there and my hat was on backwards. And I thought I had won something, and I didn't. But I kept going. And about 2 weeks later, I went to another little local show with her, and I did get a 5th place in halter with her, out of about, I think, 14 horses. So I got my first ribbon, and that felt so wonderful. And then I discovered showmanship that way. I was able to watch showmanship, and I realized, wow, this is really my passion. I like the refinery of this. I like being able to dress up a little more and get the horse all done up. I was not really into the faster stuff, the gymkhana or that type of thing. It just was never me. So when I saw the showing, I thought, this is what I want to get into. So I owned Glory for a year, and she did really well on the local show circuit. And I just had a lot of fun, and I did showmanship and halter with her. That was it. And I was really just living my best life. I loved it. It was great. I was getting excited about her getting older and teaching her how to, put a saddle on. Of course, not right away. She was a yearling, but I was just excited for the future of her. And then a year to the day, like almost a year to the day, she colicked and died at the same ranch. And before you say, oh, there's something wrong at that ranch, in the 30 years that this older lady experienced horse person, she had bred horses, like had hundreds of horses go through there. She had never lost any horses, just mine. And this one was one that she bred and was taking great care of from birth. So that was my luck of the draw, and I lost her, and I didn't even have a chance to try to save her. The owner of the ranch just woke up to feed, and then Glory was dead in her paddock that morning. So she had to call us, and she was crying hysterically and saying, Glory's dead, Glory's dead. I'm so sorry. So then the silver lining of that is she felt so bad, she gave me a horse, another one of her horses. And that was a yearling, but untouched aside from just being haltered up. There were 3 Palomino fillies in her field that hadn't sold yet, and they were all yearlings. And that day she said, honey, like, you know, with tears in her eyes, she's like, go, you pick out any horse you want. And, you know, we were all crying. And it took me about a week. Like, I was too in shock, and I needed to just kind of grieve and process losing Glory. But then I knew, I was like, oh my gosh, I have hope. And I really thank her. Her name was Joan, and I thank her for that because, you know, she really gave us a gift in that moment of just tragedy, you know, once again. So I chose one of the little Palomino fillies, and I named her Faith, very fitting. And I started working with her. But what was ironic is the night before Glory died, I found RFD TV for the first time. And I watched Clinton Anderson for the first time. And I saw him work with the horse and do some groundwork and lunge. And my brain just exploded because I thought, oh my gosh, I want to try this with her. I want to try to do it tomorrow. But then that was the day that she had died. So from the very beginning, from the very first session I had Faith, I used the natural horsemanship methods of Clinton Anderson. And my experience was day and night, so different, so fast. I couldn't believe the results of using some of his methods on a horse. So at that point, I just followed that method, and I honestly credit him for the foundational aspects of just what I do today, and I recommend him to people still. Of course, it's horse to horse, and you know, you have to gauge your horse's energy and where they're at and their background. But ultimately, at the core, I think he has some great methods you can incorporate in, and I loved it. So I worked with Faith, and I owned her for a few years, and then I ultimately actually traded her for another horse, but that's kind of a long story. But she was wonderful. She gave me 2 or 3 years of just local showing, and I started her to ride, and that was a big accomplishment. I started her myself, and she was just a great little horse, a good experience, and I loved her dearly, and she did give me the faith and the hope to keep going. And I see there's lots of comments, so let's see. Let's see. But that's probably a good part 1 of my story, because that fast forwards from 13 to 15 years old, roughly, and just what I went through. But the minis, so this is Comet, for people that don't know, and he's a year old, and he's a Palomino Pinot with blue eyes. And he is going to be about 32 inches tall, mature. And he's just a sweetheart. He's still a baby. But I got him last, here, I'm gonna move the camera in here because it's kind of windy. And then I'm gonna show you Comet and a few little things he can do. But I got him last year in Wisconsin. And he's just been a great little horse. Very trainable, very kind, very sweet. And he just loves to be engaged and work. Huh? You do. I think that raspberry pink looks really cute on him too. But the horses, they can jump very high. I mean, some minis can jump 44 inches, 46. I mean, I think that's the record. Most commonly, they're not that high in shows. I would say it's more common that a mini at a competitive high show is maybe 38 to 40 inches high. And you have jumping rounds to get up to that height. My little mare Brooklyn in here, she can jump. I mean, she has cleared 43, 44 before. But I would say in her competitions, she's never had to do it that high. It's been about 40 inches for the final rounds to win. So they can jump very high, but they do have to love to do it. If they don't, then it's not really a jumping horse. And yeah, when he gets older, I think it will get darker, his coloring. Gosh, and I see a lot of people from around the world are watching. And it's 3:30 in the afternoon here in California. But yeah, I think it will get darker. It's going to be kind of interesting to see, though, because his daddy is a Perlino, so it's like a white horse almost, you know, champagne-y white, not a Cremello. So we'll just see how he develops. I'm kind of hoping it will get a little bit darker, but I know if he's freshly clipped and then clean, then he really does read darker. So that'll be nice to have in the show ring. I do like to have the color on my horses, ideally. And yeah, so yeah, this is Comet. And he's a year old. And he's very cute, aren't you? You have a lot of fans. Say hi to YouTube. Yeah. So he has blue eyes, and then there's black liner around both blue eyes, which I think is very special. And then that way he's not as prone to burning. He doesn't have the pink skin. So that was really a huge appeal when I bought him. I wanted to have the dark eyes and the dark nose so that it's not a pink-skinned horse. Because they just require a little bit more day-to-day care, and just you have to be careful with them and their sun exposure more. Yeah. But thank you for watching, everybody. I think that's probably a good stopping point. But definitely, if you want to hear the rest of my story, I think I will probably do parts of it now because I started it. But there's a lot. I would just say, though, as a closing remark, is don't forget where you came from. And if people are kind enough to help you without any gain from it, excuse you. That's not being a gentleman. Please do not nibble. He's a little colt, so he's still learning manners, and he has to learn to not do that. But just really be grateful for the people that help you along the way, and don't forget where you came from, because I never have. And it's really important to keep that humility in life with anything, even if you're not a horse person. Just don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who helped you. And if you do well and excel and win, there's no reason to not give credit to those who have helped you along the way. That's not making you any less of a competitor. That's not taking away any of your knowledge or your achievements, your titles. It's only, I think, strengthening your character as a person to remember where you came from and give credit to every stage and every person that's helped. Because there's a lot of people that don't help too. And a lot of people that are out to hurt you. And it's that way in every industry and every competition sport. But the horse industry is no different. And believe me, I have been through a lot behind the scenes. It's not a pretty thing, but keep shining through it and keep going. And don't let anybody steal that light and that passion in your heart, no matter what you do. And yeah, that's about where I'm at. Just always believe in yourself. Let's see. Show the horses, show the horses. And yes, I am going to be doing more lives. I definitely am. I like it. And yeah, and thank you. So a couple people have asked about my baby Zizi, and yes, he's really not a baby anymore. He's a toddler. He's got to be 17 months old at the end of this month. So he's sleeping right now, and that's why I'm down here by myself. So this is Orion. Hi, Orion. How are you? So he's a year old as well, and he's wearing our dinosaur fly mask that we sell on our website. Definitely check out our website if you need anything for your horses, because Comet's wearing the rope halters, one of them that I sell. And then we have bags, we have all kinds of fun prints. If you're not familiar with our product line, then this is it. And we have our website with worldwide shipping. This is Brooklyn. She is my queen of the barn. And I've had her since she was 5 months old, and she just turned 9. And she is my multiple champion in everything. She's done, look, she doesn't like Comet. She's like, I'm not interested in you, please. She's done trail, showmanship, hunter, jumper. She's won it all multiple times. And then this is Ashy. And she is the full sister to Brooklyn. And she is also a champion as well in hand trail. And then she tied for reserve in open and hand trail at AMHA last year. She lost the tiebreaker. Brooklyn was first, and then Ashy did get the third. I was super proud of her. And you know, she's a heck of an in-hand trail horse. But yeah, this is one of my banners. That's my big horse, Lizzie, and she's outside in her own stall. But yeah, if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. Words that I live by. And then Bailey, she's hiding, but she's the mama of Brooke and Ashy. And she is going to a new home in just probably a week or so, because I am going to give her to an 8-year-old girl that shows in 4-H. And I found a great home for her, and she's going to get so much more attention from that little girl. And she comes from an experienced horse family. So I decided to part with her because I really feel like you need to keep your horses occupied and busy in a productive way for who they are. And with Bailey, I wasn't going to show her anymore because she's 18. Actually, you know, I take that back. I had never shown Bailey. I've only just had her. She's been a model here, and I've just taken care of her for a few years. Whoops. And she's had a great life, but I just feel like now it's time to let her move on to a great home with attention. Because I don't like it when my horses just sit. You know, I want them to have appropriate jobs for who they are and really just, you know, just excel so that they're not just kind of going to waste too. Yeah, Bailey. Here, we can go outside. It is very hot in the sun, so it's only going to be a minute. But I think she's outside sunbathing. Yeah, she is. Just clipped her a few days ago. Hi, Bailey. There my girl is peeking out. Hi, Bailey. Hi. What are you doing? Are you just enjoying the sun? Yeah. It's hot out here. But yeah, that's her. She's a sweet girl. And then she had 2 daughters, and they're both solid. And what's interesting is that the 2 girls, they're solid, and then Bailey and then the daddy, Rivy, they were both Pintos, and they had solid daughters. So it is just kind of funny what happens with horses when you breed them. You just never know what you're going to get. Here's Brooklyn. So, yeah, Brooklyn is a silver dapple. She looks like a chocolate palomino, but she is a silver dapple. That's what they call them in the mini horse world here. And then Ashy is a smoky black. So, Ashy. So she really reads black, but when you clip her out, she's this gorgeous kind of dark gray. So smoky black. Bailey is just a, but she's still outside. There you are. She's like, I'm just enjoying the sun. She's just a sorrel Pinot. So kind of a reddish brown with white. And then Comet is a Palomino Pinot, as we've discussed. So he looks like he's white, but he really has the spots on him. And then Orion is a Bay Pinto Tobiano. And he has the cutest little face. I'm not going to take his mask off because it's hot and icky, but he has the cutest little white marking on his face. And then Lizzie is out here, or maybe she's not. I mean, people are asking to see her, but this is where Lizzie lives. She may be out. In fact, yes, she is. I see her way down there. I don't think the camera's going to catch that. But that's Lizzie's home, and she has the whole mountain. She has about 10 acres. So she is very, very spoiled. And so this was Bolt. This was my very first mini. And the funny thing is he was given to me, so that'll be another live. Bolt, and he was also a smoky black. So you can see coloring. That's how they look when they're clipped out. And then this was Bolt and Brooklyn at their very first show, at the Pinot World Championship show. And then this was Zoe. And she was a silver dapple Pinot with blue eyes. And she was a rescue horse that I did adopt. And I just ground zero with her and trained her up. And she won titles at the Pinot World Championship show in 2018. And then I did end up rehoming her. And she had a really great home. But then that story actually was tragic too. She died. So again, probably another live for that story as well. But yeah, Brooklyn, she's been here from the very beginning. She's my OG, and she's so special. But thank you for watching and just being interested in my life and all the behind the scenes. Definitely subscribe to us if you have not, or if you love horses, cats, toddlers, dancing, some chaos, and also home renovation, because I throw a few videos like that in there every once in a while. Subscribe to us, share us with your friends. We really appreciate the support. And I just really love to talk to all of you. So thank you for watching. I am going to pop off and just make sure that my baby's good. I have a camera on him on my phone, but I like to go check on him. But again, just thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon with a part 2 of how I got into horses. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and a great weekend.